It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks so much for tuning in today. And, we're going to talk about something that you just can't change about yourself. No matter what you do, no matter what changes you make to your body, or no matter how much you... what's the manifest? No matter how much you manifest, you just can't change your age. That's just the reality. No matter what you inject into your face, no matter what color you turn your hair, no matter what you have sucked out of your body, no matter what. Right? Now, let me be clear here. I'm saying there's nothing you can do about your age. I'm not saying aging. That's something completely different. You can't change your age, no matter what you do, no matter how much you lie. It's kind of like when people talk about their weight, right? That's something you can maybe shave off 5 pounds or 10 pounds or something if you're telling somebody. And, your age, yeah, if you look young, you can look old, but you're not fooling yourself. You're not kidding yourself. You can lie to people all day, every day, whatever, but your age is still your age. So I recently turned 44, and I'm somebody who will tell people that. I have no problem doing it. Like, it's not an issue for me. I don't, because, and I guess for me, I sort of like doing it because I know what ends up happening is people look at me and go, oh my God, no way, 44. And some people do that as a compliment, right? They don't want to have this like big shocking, oh my God, I would have said older, right? I mean, people don't do that, but I genuinely don't. We actually did a comparison from, what was it? When I was 20, how old was I when we did that, you guys? 20, we did it for 22 and 42. So we took a picture or two, a shot from when I was 22 and one when I was 42, and obviously 20 years. And I actually look more well-rested and youthful now. So it's kind of funny. And, we have this joke about, well, and again, remember, we're talking age versus aging. They're two different things. And so I said about that I haven't aged. I said because, well, there's no kid. We don't have kids, and I have a very, stress-free life, right? Because I essentially retired at the age of 39. So when we had that 42-year-old picture, or the picture from the age of 42, I was already 3 years into relaxation mode, and I'm good. So I don't have an issue with that, of saying how old I am. As I've mentioned on the show many times, Bonnie, our executive producer, who, by the way, still will never even tell me her age. And you have to remember that when you're the employer, you have everybody's file, so you know their birth dates and you know those things. But I'll play along, Bonnie. You're right. I don't know how old you are. I should also add that I'm the same age as one of Bonnie's sons, and her and her husband Mike have been married for the exact same length of time as my parents. So, I might not be able to zero. I do know how old she is, but I could zero in and roughly say, okay, you're around this age, just with all those math equations I just gave you. But yes, I do know her actual age. I'll just leave it as she's in her 70s. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to expose her, because we actually did. I don't remember if we had a conversation, if it was on the air or if it was off the air. No, I think it was off the air, where I said to her, at what age are you going to finally admit it and just go and say, right? Because there's a certain point, and it's mostly women, and that's just a fact. I'm not being sexist, Don Lemon, but there's a certain age when people embrace it. So you have people like Jane Fonda who are like, you know what, I'm 80, I'm loving it, I'm rocking it. And then you have other women who, when they hit 40, they do that. Or when they hit 50, they'll be like, you know what, I'm 50, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good. Bonnie Winters said that she will never, no matter what milestones she hits, 75 is next, but no matter what milestone she hits, she's never going to flip it around and go and say, I'm proud of being this age, which I find to be very, very sad. Because again, no matter what you tell people or don't tell people, you're still that age. So that's what we're talking about on the show today, and it starts on the Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here on the Scribble. Before I get to that whole age thing, there's a funny story that happened in our home, and I thought of it during the break because one of my dogs just came in here, and we have a golden retriever and a husky. They're both, I guess, well, they'll both be 5 years old in about a month. Anyway, they're the same age. So they're very excited, very hyper, bouncing around, and they'll run around in the backyard forever. So last night, I was in the kitchen looking out the back window, and it was dark out, and I can see them both kind of looking at some type of oval-shaped object. Now, they're not eating it. They're not, but I'm watching them just kind of sniff this thing that's on the ground. And so there's a part of me that's kind of thinking, I don't think it's an animal, but I haven't. Then I called my husband over. We were both looking out the window, and I said, what do you think it is? Because it's like I said, it's kind of I don't even know the size of it. Again, we're looking at it from about, how far is it from the window? I would say 20 feet away. But again, it's dark outside. So we actually did not look today. We just sent them running out in the morning. But I just thought of that, going, what is it that they have? Now, like I said, if it was a dead animal or something, they might be, they'd be poking at it or throwing it around or whatever. I don't know that they would eat it. We have 2 rabbits at home, and they're not looking at things like that as food, but they would definitely be, sniffing at it, poking at it with their noses, pawing at it, if it was an animal. But like I said, they're not eating it. So they're just it's just on the ground and they're sniffing it. Now, we have had instances here where there's been, I'm laughing. We have such weird animal stories here in West Hollywood. So, the first time there was a dead owl in the pool one night, and we just saw it because of the glow of the lights the lights in the pool. But again, it was the same kind of a situation where there's something floating. What is that? Like, what's it? And then you go outside, you're like, oh my God, it's a dead animal. Because it almost looked like a football. Now, we don't have a football in the backyard, so that's what made it even kind of weirder. And then, I think a year later, there was a snake. It was a small snake. And then we had some kind of like a little lizard thing last year. Oh, and we had ducks, by the way. That's several years ago. It's funny because but this was in the daytime. We had ducks fly and land in the pool. And then Lisa Gibbons, do you remember Lisa from the talk show? And she was Entertainment Tonight host, and she anchors the Rose Parade on KTLA here. we actually bonded over, like, she had ducks in her pool one summer or one spring or whenever it was, and she tweeted about that. And it's so funny because I just happened to see it. I go, we had ducks in our backyard yesterday, so I'm wondering if we're sharing ducks, because how weird is that? She doesn't live too far from us. Are these the same ducks? Are they, like, what's going on? It's just so random that we have them. So I don't know what is in the backyard that the dog's been playing with, but I'm curious, but I also kind of don't want to know. I'm not scared of animals or, like a dead animal or whatever, but this is one of those situations where maybe I'll be a little bit more, I'll be a bit queenie and feminine and say, husband, go, I don't want to look, I can't look, and make him do it. But anyway, so there is some sort of an object in our backyard that the dogs are paying attention to, but don't know what it is. All right, so let's get to this whole age thing, all right? So, yes, inevitably once you hit a certain age, whether that's 30 or 40, the milestone birthdays obviously are the ones that are made fun of the most, but you're going to get those age jokes every year from here on out, right? And so I don't get it, because it's not like it's something, there's nothing that you can do about it. Like, you're making fun of me, but I had nothing to do with that. So let's flip this around and say it's about weight. Right, you can make fun of my weight because that's something that I'm doing, whether I'm not working out or I'm eating poorly, whatever. If I'm packing on the weight, then that makes sense that you would make comments about my weight because that's something that I'm doing to my body. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the age thing, it's kind of like, well, you'd almost think that it would be, why are you making fun of it? It actually should be almost celebrated in the sense of, hey, you're still alive at 44 years old, right? So we kind of have this backwards, I think, but that's just me. So it's never bothered me. Okay, so let's talk about aging here. Just another side story here. I just took off my glasses that I've been wearing all day, and now I'm looking at the screen going, I can't really read that as well as I could with my glasses on. I'll put them back on. But yeah, all right. So it's another year older. There's nothing I can do about it. No matter how much you tell yourself and whatever. And, I find though that I feel better because I think as we get older, some of us anyway, and tell me if I'm wrong, if you're in your 40s like me, that I think a lot of us in our generation have figured out how to, I don't want to say manage stress, but I would perhaps word it and say we know how to minimize stress. Is that the right word? We know how to not get stressed out about things, I think. We've been through a lot, right? We've been through, growing up in an age where we didn't have this weird addiction to technology in the sense of phones, social media, always needing, the bigger, better, faster. And so we've then swung to the other direction and lived through those types of things, right? And so I think we've been through so many different life situations. We've been through, relationship ups and downs, career ups and downs, most likely death. We've been around death, whether that's our grandparents, a parent, a relative, or something. We've all been around death. So we've kind of figured out how to navigate those types of things once we hit our 40s. And quite honestly, I was always very mature in my 20s and 30s anyway. I never really liked, even when I was a kid in elementary school, I never really liked hanging around kids. I was more of an adult, especially in high school, that I didn't spend time hanging out with my classmates on weekends or whenever they would get together and do things. I was focused on a career, and I always hit it off better with adults. So the age thing, I mean, I just think that I hate the phrase, it is what it is, because I don't really even know what that means. Well, of course it is. Of course it is what it is, but what does that saying mean? It doesn't mean anything. It is what it is. Maybe that's another thing with age, is that we get analytical and say that doesn't make sense. I actually texted Bonnie that the other day. I said, I've never understood the B in subtle. Why isn't it S-U-T-T-L-E? And she said that would be logical, but that's just not the English language. And so, but yeah, I think as we age, we just we maybe don't let things, get to us, or we just don't give a shit. Maybe that's what it is. We just can kind of look at things and say, you know what, not worth my time. And that's how I feel about a lot of things. I'm kind of just not blasé, but just more so focused elsewhere. I think that you know what you enjoy in life, right? I know the things that I like. I know the things that bring me pleasure. That's why, my husband and I have said before, we don't really cook. We eat out a lot. So there's restaurants that we like. And so, at a certain age, you're kind of just like, you know what? I don't want to use the term the finer things in life, because I'm not meaning that. But what I'm just saying is, we know what we like, and that's where we'll focus our attention on. And it's not, that's why I don't really understand when people, and I see that a lot with people my age, go on social media and there's just these rants about things. A lot of times it's current events and world things that are happening, in within, certain countries or what have you. And that's fine, but I don't know. I've never done that. Even in my 30s, I've never gone on a, 17 paragraph rant in a Facebook post. And, I have opinions. And so I had a newspaper column for 20 years. So I was able to put them on there or on this podcast or, hosting the radio show. Well, we didn't really do stuff like that on the radio shows, but, I don't know. I don't understand why the age thing is such a problem for people. But again, that's different than aging, right? I mean, I think too, perhaps if I had gone gray very early in my life, which I'm still not, that might be it. Like I know my friend Darcy, he went bald. It was probably early 20s, I think that he was balding at early 20s, and then I think maybe by age, when was he? I'm trying to think the last time that he came to Winnipeg to visit me. He would have been, I don't know, but I would say that he was bald at least before he was 30. And so for him, that was, that is, I could understand something that would affect his confidence, right? He's going to then look older than he actually is. And so I laugh at that and say, oh my God, I'm older than you, but you look older than me, which I've always liked that. I've always liked when people, especially when you see, on a TV show or like the reality shows when you have the contestants and it shows their age on Survivor or whatever it is, and I see that they are younger than me, because I try to guess that. Do you ever guess that? When you see the person, you're like, oh, they've got to be at least in their 30s. Oh, they've got to be at least in their 40s. And then you see that they're, 24 or 25, and I'm sitting there, holy shit, they look older than me. So I'll take it. So, but yeah, I mean, I just think, I don't, it seems like I'm running out of things to say about it, but I guess I just don't, I'm sort of at a loss as to why it's an issue. Tell me what you think. Send me an email, live, L-I-V-E, at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. Do you embrace your age? Now, if somebody asks you how old you are, tell me that you don't flip it around. Tell me you're not one of those people. Tell me you're not one of those people that flips it around and says, how old do you think I am? Because I'll fucking hate you. Don't even tell me that you do that, because it's not even a fun game. I mean, when you do that, the person's going to lowball it anyway, just to avoid the awkward situation. Like, I just think that it's such a stupid thing that people do. We had a guy who, he had applied for our swimwear company to be a model. And one of the things that came up just in us having a conversation was, how old are you? And this was on a video call. And he had this reaction, which was sort of playful, but then he didn't want to tell me. And then I was kind of like, yeah, you can kind of knock that off. Now, I realized, let me be clear, I realized that in a job interview, and depending on where you are, A company's not allowed to ask that. At least that's what I believe was the case where I grew up. So this was different, though, because we were having a conversation and age had come up. So it wasn't like me with a checklist going, okay, and how old are you? We were having dialogue back and forth. And so it ended up, just, and I can't remember, he had mentioned something or maybe I had mentioned something, and then maybe it was my age that had come up. And then I flipped it around and just said, well, how old are you? I think that's what it was. Because obviously for what we were doing, it was a matter of a physical appearance when you're looking for a model for, swimwear. The age really had nothing to do with it. He was over 18, obviously. But I just remember him having that reaction, which was he was trying to be cutesy about it. But then I just kind of thought, I don't get it. Like, why is it a problem? Why wouldn't you want to? Because at least for him, I mean, he did have a youthful look as it was. So then I guess it's different. I would think it would be different if he looked old, right? Like if he looked like he was in his 40s, but he was actually 20 something. Okay, then fine. But I thought that he was older than, like what he actually was. So that would be the same thing with me, right? I'm not going to, why would I lowball it and say, oh, well, I'm 38? Well, because most people aren't going to believe that I'm 44 anyway. So, right? I mean, I just, whatever. I'd rather wow them. I think that it's the opposite effect. I think it's the opposite to go and say, you know what, I'm at the point now where I would actually even round up my age. I would just go, I'm 45. Yeah, I'm 45. I think people round down, right? They would round down to 40. Or I'm in my 40s, just to be very general and vague. But even that, I think that opens you up to people going higher then. Oh, well, okay, he's 46. Okay, he's 47. Because they might just go and say, oh, well, why did you just say it? Are you younger or older than 45? When you say that you're in your 40s, I'm going to go for the high end and say, okay, he's 48. Just tell me your fucking age. I don't get it. You think that I'm asking your, your income or your weight, which again is that's another thing too, though, right? I mean, the whole sensitivity about asking somebody's weight, it's like, but we see you. That's the thing, right? You can try to squeeze into Spanx or whatever the hell, body contorting garment will, make you like a sausage. But if you're overweight, we can see that you're overweight. Most people can kind of have a good guess as to how much a person weighs, right? When, you think when you call 911 or when, okay, how tall was he? Okay, roughly how much did he weigh, right? I mean, maybe you might be way off if you haven't, I don't know. I think for me, because I know how much I weigh, that I can look at somebody and say, okay, we're probably roughly the same weight, right? At least for a guy, anyway. I mean, maybe women, I would go and say, hold on, let me see that dump truck ass, but I don't know. I mean, I have a tiny frame. I always joke and say that I've got a body of a 12-year-old girl. That's not something that I'm necessarily proud of, but to be a 44-year-old man with the body of a 12-year-old girl, I'll take it. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's not. I would do the joke of when we had a cake for my birthday one time, and I ended up switching up the numbers, and I ended up putting 30 when I was 30, whatever at the time. But again, it was a joke because, I mean, the people that were in the room with me knew how old I was, right? So there wasn't really like I'm lying to them about my age. It ended up just being sort of a funny thing. But yeah, so tell me, if I were to ask you, Joe listener, right now, how old are you? Would you tell me? Email me. As the subject line, just put a number. Put your age in the subject line of the email. Send it to me, live, live, at jbonair.com. Live. I'm not asking you to send pictures so that I can judge you and go, holy shit, she's 47? Fuck. I'm not asking that. Not at all. I remember... It was Wendy Williams. Who was she talking about, though? Oh, don't you love... I miss Wendy on TV. I don't know, there was it was Sherry Shepherd's husband at one point. I remember her... If you ever watched Wendy, you know that she had the big video screens behind her, right? The TV screens behind her, and it would flash up the celebrities that she was talking about, right? And so they showed Sherry Shepherd and her husband at the time. They're split now. And so I remember Wendy would always kind of do that turn. She would always kind of then put her arm on the back of the chair and look at the monitors behind her. And anytime that the guy, I can't remember his name, but anytime that the guy would come up, she would always kind of be like, rough. And then when she would say the age, that's what she was just like, that's a hard 46 or whatever it was. And so I think about that too. All right, that's a hard life that he's had to be 46 and looking like that. And so I like to think, I know Wendy, but I haven't talked to her in a while, but it would be funny to have my picture go, Wendy, just 44? What do you think? Is it, is this a rough 44? And the funny thing is, because I haven't really, I haven't done much physical labor in my life. I haven't. So I think maybe that's part of it. I don't look worn down. I don't, it's a pretty basic life. I don't have I've got great skin, but again, I drink water all day. I mean, I have 2 glasses of water in front of me. There's a hot water and a cold water in front of me. I'm not big into alcohol really anymore. I'm not doing the whole I'm sober thing or I don't drink. It's just, we have a glass of wine here and there. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that. But again, as you get older, it sort of changes, right? When you're not working all day, every day, you don't come home with that feeling of, oh my God, I need a drink. Oh, I'm going to have a drink. Because there's been nothing that's prompted me to need that drink earlier in the day, right? I don't have the stress of work. I haven't had any kind of battle with a coworker. And, I come in, I do this show. Sometimes we'll do 4 of them in one day, and then I'm gone for however long. There's no stress in my day. So anyway, we're going to take one more break, or are we wrapping up? One more break and then a couple more minutes, and then I'll say goodbye. So we'll be right back on The Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here on The Scribble. So where did that whole idea of never ask a woman her age, where did that come from? Because I would feel that it should be empowering now. Right? I mean, that's an old saying, let's be clear. I'm not saying that this is something new that's just come about. Never ask a woman. I mean, I remember hearing that even when I was a kid. You never ask. Okay, fine, then tell me how much you weigh. Either option. You tell me how much you weigh or how old you are. Well, you have to pick one of them, and I'm guessing most of them would tell me how old they are. If I had to force them to do it, that would be their choice. Fine, I'm 30, I'm 35. Are you more likely to lie about your age or your weight? Maybe that's another question to answer for me. Your age or your weight? Which are you more comfortable sharing, and which one are you more likely to fudge? I don't know. Again, so the whole point of this episode, again, is to sort of make light about the whole age thing, because I don't get why people are so uptight about it. It doesn't make sense to me. You can make fun of me for being something that just naturally happens. Okay. That'd be like you're making fun of me because I'm short. I have nothing to do with that. That's all right. Great. Anyway, so send me an email live at jbr.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope you've had some laughs, because, we try not to do any kind of hard-hitting, thought-provoking sort of discussions on here. We don't talk politics. We don't talk, It's just the stuff that that's the stuff that keeps you young and lets you have a laugh. That's what we do here. So I thank you for appreciating it and sticking through this entire episode. And now what you can do is you can go through the archives of the past episodes and spend some more time with me, all right? I will talk to you next time, everybody. Bye-bye for now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com. Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.